What I learned at St. Vlad's. Those at the institution of St. Vladimir's do not necessarily agree with any given thing I say in my posts here, nor do I claim to represent the institution, nor do I even claim to represent Orthodox Christianity, although I may try to do these things. End disclaimer. I had the time, a bit of guidance, and new resources at St. Vlad's I wouldn't have otherwise had to research deeper into the things cultural misreceptions of orthodoxy that were causing blockages in my own progress and faith, to explain a bit historically why these obstructions existed, move them aside, and find something closer to the proper traditional placement of the world, the individual self, reason, philosophy, imagination, art, the body, marriage, and creativity in the grand scheme of things. To find the proper traditional placement of those things in the grand scheme of things. This has been part of my effort to understand my own vocation. It seems the uneducated Orthodox person will agree with a stereotype that misrepresents Orthodoxy as if it were a Far Eastern religion, where all these things I mentioned in italics, that list, the world, the individual, reason, imagination, the body, marriage, creativity, where all those things I mentioned are abolished in the end, or somehow ideally made forever absent from our conscious lived experience in favor of a purely, continuously, and totally internalized, de-individualized, unreflective, aphysical, and non-erotic relationship, or else, on a more moderate view, all these things will exist, will be given back, but strictly only temporally after a stage of purification, as if these phenomena served no function at all but to tempt and distract us while still in the process of purification. Even this moderate view, with a strict temporal ordering, strikes me as the reduction of the Catholicity of the Church to the vocation of the monastic, and the reduction of the movement of the soul to only the inward movement, contra Dionysius, who stresses the created movements out from God into the world, expanding the world, and the return. But the abolitionist view ultimately is a form of Gnosticism, as I at least partly argue in my thesis, on the basis of Saints Palamas, Nemesius of Emesa, and Staniloy. And on this basis, I argued creativity, and by extension I would argue for the other things, that they will continue in some shape or form into eternity, and the eschaton, as we know, is now. And the eschaton, as we know, is now, and orients us here and now. I'm saying the eschaton is used as a guide stone for how we should live now. The eschaton already is now, in some sense. We can accept the moderate view, but so as to retain the full diversity in unity, the Catholicity of the Church, with not only the monastic vocation, but with worldly vocations, only with a flexible ordering, largely the italicized phenomenon, the world, the individual, self, reason, philosophy, imagination, art, the body, marriage, and creativity are temptations prior to purification. But that does not mean all of these must be completely mortified and removed from life, as in monastic life. Two of these phenomena in particular are key. People are often not married only after they are perfectly purified, and the priests marrying them know that, and they are not bad priests because of that. Marriage shows us that this strict temporal ordering that would allow creativity, as procreation, only after purification is false. Therefore, creativity amidst purification is not only allowed, but even blessed, not just marriage. This is not how I argued in my thesis, but this is another way to get to Christian creativity. In theosis, we become like a creator. Again, that's theosis, sometimes deification. as it's called. We become like a creator. Now, what about the world, self, body, reason, philosophy, imagination, art? In some shape or form, if creativity is allowed, then they are too. That is one of the jewels I found in my research, finding and appreciating a wider sense of creativity and thus a wider sense of philosophy and art than the compartmentalizing constraints of the academic world or the ivory tower or Philistine anti intellectual world, a wider sense of them than they want to place on them. I will have to articulate in another post these expanded meanings. It also shows, which, by the way, actually, I don't do that in a post on this blog. I do that in the video on philosophy, which is going to be in the same playlist with this video. I will have to articulate in another post these expanded meaning. Okay, I already said sorry. It also shows the unity between philosophy, art, and ethics. Episteme, techni, phronesis. Now, I definitely admit that these things can present temptations, and fasts and care is then required, and suitable spiritual fathers might recommend not engaging in certain concrete areas of the world for a season or two. But even in repairing what is broken, creativity can be, no, must be, displayed, since there is no pre-made blueprint for how to fix our own individual selves and lives, and there is always necessarily a unique mesh of problems in our own lives we cannot simply Google or read about to solve. And so a solution must be, to its solver, unique, new. And what is this finding of a novel solution to a significant problem but creativity? It's no accident in becoming like the creator. Even in purification, we are becoming creators. So in the post, when I say, even in repairing what is broken, creativity must be displayed, I link to the Wikipedia for kintsugi. Kintsugi, I don't know how to say it. It's a Japanese art of golden repair, of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas of breakage with a certain lacquer mixed with gold powder. And it ends up looking very, very cool.